Hi there Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video. Welcome to episode 91 of Ask Bossk Bounty. This is the weekly series where you ask me questions in the comment section below and I answer them each week for you. So if you do have a question for next week's episode, please leave it in the comment section below and hopefully you'll be featured next week. I had a record amount of questions this week. Every week I usually get loads, which is brilliant. This is how it should work. But of course, on last week's episode, I said that I would be giving away one of these. The company behind this Nebula R2-D2 projector is allowing me to give one of these away brand new in its box. And the winner will be announced later on in this video. But I'd really appreciate it if you weren't one of those people that just skips ahead to find out if you have won the giveaway. Please support the channel by watching the rest of the video. I really appreciate that. And I hope that you'll also congratulate whoever the winner is. But we will come on to that later. And if you happen to enjoy the video as well, of course, drop a like down below because that always helps the video and the channel. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. And the first question in this week's video is from A2SQ. And it's a question that I had a lot. And it is, hi boss, question for next week. What do you think of the new Stormtrooper armour in the Bad Batch? Well, I've got to say that I do love it when they hark back to the Ralph McQuarrie drawings and concept art. I love it when they do that. I think they did it quite a lot in Rebels and they're doing it in the Bad Batch with those Stormtroopers. And I think they look awesome. Will they come to the Vintage Collection? Possibly. More likely the Black Series first, but I would like to see them because they are part of the Bad Batch. So yeah, I love them. Tom W says, great content as always, Tim. Do you consider Omega part of the Bad Batch? Is she one of the squad or a tag-along? If they release the whole squad, would you expect it to be her and the 4 others or the original 5 members? Or will Crosshair rejoin the team and we get a 6-pack in the TVC? Well, that would be the ultimate, wouldn't it? The ultimate 6-pack. But yeah, Omega, I don't think I really class her as part of the Bad Batch. I think the Bad Batch are the Clone Force 99 essentially, and it's the original members. I think I've mentioned in previous videos that I would like to see both versions of Crosshair in the Vintage Collection, but if I had to choose one of them, I'd probably prefer the Imperial one because that's how he's been for the majority of the time, and then, you know, we'll have the other 4 members as they are. Randy S says, do you think the first wave of the Vintage Collection gaming greats sold well enough for Hasbro to do more and possibly tool some new figures like Cal Kestis, an updated Darth Revan or Visa Ma? Yeah, as far as I know, I think they were quite happy with the way the gaming greats did in the Vintage Collection. I think they sold enough of them to warrant its success, and hopefully that does mean that, you know, the gaming figures are something that they're looking at in the future. If they're going to do a Cal Kestis, I've mentioned this before, he wouldn't be in the gaming greats, he would be part of the main line, all new sculpt. So let's see what happens. I think before we see any new sculpts, we'll probably see at least one more wave of gaming greats to see how they go. Gary Wallace says, question, how many original vintage MOCs do you own? So that's mint on card for anyone that didn't know what the abbreviation is. And at the latest count, Gary, I have 23 mint on card vintage Star Wars figures. Steve Areno says, hey Bossk, what human non-main character would you most like to see in the Vintage Collection? That would probably have to be the human skiff guards. So Velkan Tazeri would be one that would immediately spring to mind. Andrew B says, any figure you feel really seems to have been forgotten and needs a release or re-release? Well, I tend to think that the figures that have been, or characters that have been forgotten about, are the main villains. I made a whole video. I'll leave a link right now to that video, and you can just see the thumbnail of that video. The Vintage Collection for me misses some of the main villains, and they're the ones that have been forgotten about in my opinion. Count Dooku being one of the obvious ones. Gary Mancini says, hi Tim, I love your programme and look forward to it every Sunday. So thank you, Gary. Question for next week, and swerving away from Star Wars for the moment, would you like to see other Lucasfilm properties featured in the 50th anniversary? Personally, I'd love a Black Series Indiana Jones figure. Do you think this is likely? How likely it is, I wouldn't like to say. I honestly don't know. I think if we were going to see them, we probably would have seen them by now, and that's a bit of a shame. In terms of what I would like to see, it would be Indiana Jones, 100%. Rather than the Black Series, I'd prefer to see either like a retro collection kind of effort, or just like some 3.75-inch figures of Indiana Jones. However, saying that, if they did bring out a 6-inch Indiana Jones, you know, just for this year, then there's no way that I'm not buying that. Kyle Zook says, hi BB, question for next week. What is your favourite non-Star Wars action figure line to collect? As a carded collector, I like these Super 7 reaction figures. Cheers. Yep, I'm the same as you. I love the reaction figures, especially some of the ones that have been recently revealed, like the Run DMC ones and the Notorious B.I.G. I just think they're absolute genius. Apart from that, I love Action Force, G.I. Joe. That kind of stuff's pretty cool as well. David Wells says, hi Tim, great video as always. Question for next week. Do you think we'll get the missing characters from Rogue One in the Vintage Collection soon, now that they have several coming out in the Black Series? So I'm not too sure that the fact that they're coming out in the Black Series has any sort of effect on whether they'll come out in the Vintage Collection. All I know is that obviously we got Chirrut Imwe, K2SO quite recently, we got Darth Vader, and I really did think that this year was going to be the year that we would get Baze and Bodhi Rook at least. Of course, we are getting the Blue Leader in the X-Wing. We're not even too sure when we can pre-order that. But I really did want Baze and Bodhi Rook. And as the weeks and months go by, it just looks increasingly less likely that that's going to happen. Vandal says, question for next week. What do you think about getting a 3.75-inch Sid Trandoshan female from the Bad Batch for your collection to put next to your Bossk figures? And do you suppose she is Bosk's mother? I haven't actually considered that. That's an interesting one. But yeah, absolutely. You know, if we're going to be getting Bad Batch figures at any point, then I think Sid is a must. And of course, I'm a Bossk Trandoshan fan, so why not? Carl Thomas says, where would you say is the best place to get a Star Wars figure collection valued? I personally would go to one of the Facebook groups. The admins there have a valuation policy. There's some experts in there. That's probably where I would go to get my things valued. I think Facebook groups like that are a safe place for that sort of thing. I would be a little bit wary of people, individuals maybe, you know, claiming to be experts or valuers or things like that. Just be a little bit careful on that sort of thing, because they may undervalue something and then obviously put an offer in, and then of course you're probably getting less than the actual worth. Justin Riley says, in your loose collection, do you army build like Stormtroopers or maybe a specific clone battalion? When it comes to army building, I don't claim to be somebody that's got, you know, hundreds of each battalion or anything like that, but I do like to have a little bit of an army. So for example, I may have like 10 501st clones and 10 212s, as many Stormtroopers as I can get my hands on, that kind of thing. But I don't have these big sort of setups of massive armies that you see some people have. Jedi Berry says, hi Boss Bounty, another great video as always, keep up the great work. Question for next week. I've started to collect Star Wars patches and wondered if it was possible to buy one of your awesome Bossk Bounty patches to add to my collection. So absolutely, here they are. If anyone's interested, I do sell them. You just need to send me an email really, and we can arrange for me to send you one of these. However, if you are a Patreon supporter, and I've also started the membership on YouTube, there's a link down for that below. And I believe on one of the tiers, if you're a member for 2 months, then you get one of these free anyway. So it's a good way to support the channel. If you want to become a member on YouTube, there's loads of different perks. Check it out on the join button down below or the link in the description. Django Unbrain says, question for next week. In the Black Series 3.75-inch line, we had a good selection of new figures. Do you anticipate they will recard any more of these into the vintage collection? For example, the Han Solo from The Force Awakens. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that particular one, because obviously the sequel trilogy is, you know, they're not really touching that at the moment. But yeah, anything from the 3.75-inch Black Series is fair game as far as I'm concerned. You know, I could see them doing like Mara Jade, for example. They've done Vizam from the Orange line. They've done a number of others. A lot of the Rogue One figures like Jyn Erso and Cassian Andor, etc., they are already in that 3.75-inch Black Series. So yeah, fair game as far as I'm concerned, and I'm sure it is for Hasbro too. Major Camo says, good work as always, Bossk. With the Purge Trooper in the vintage collection, do you think we could see a clone Airborne Trooper soon? Man, I really do hope so. You can see the 3 that I have here. I absolutely love this clone trooper army of the Airborne Trooper. It is great, and these ones are really nice. They've got loads of weathering on them and everything. Okay, it is the old mould, so they would need updating, but as you say, with that Purge Trooper and that helmet, why not? It's something that I think they could easily do. They could even use the soft goods karma that they've recently done on the Clone Wars figures that we're getting, those 2 clones, the ARC Troopers. Man, come on Hasbro, give us some of this. This would be awesome. CBZ Skeleton says, hi Boss, quick question for next week. Do you think that the ARC Trooper 5s will be restocked anywhere in the UK? I'm currently trying to find him for a decent price, but I'm not having much good luck. So in the US, I do believe that he is being restocked at Entertainment Earth. If you want to purchase him, there is a link in the description below. He is coming out in November again, but I must admit, I haven't seen anywhere in the UK that is restocking them like they are some of the other figures. So it might be the time to get him now off the secondary market, unfortunately. And if they're not restocking him, then you can only really see the price going one way. Moisture Farmer 1977 says, does Hasbro plan on making a Dark Trooper figure for the Mandalorian line soon? We got a lot of questions about the Dark Trooper in this week's episode, and man, I think it's inevitable. We've got to get the Dark Trooper in both scales, Black Series and Vintage Collection. It has to be done. I think they would sell countless ones of them. So I think it's something that's definitely coming, but it'll be an all-new sculpt. So it's probably going to take a little bit longer than we'd hoped for. All right then, guys, we're going to take a bit of a break from the questions to pick the winner of the giveaway. This is for the R2-D2 projector. Fantastic prize. Good luck to everybody involved. And I'm going to use the same thing as I always use, which is the YouTube comment picker. It's the fairest way. And we're going to put the URL for last week's video in there. And then we're going to filter out duplicate users so it's fair. If you've commented more than once, or you've replied to other people's comments or replied to my replies, it still only counts you once. So let's get the YouTube comments. We have 305 unique comments. So let's get on with this and see who the winner is. Good luck, everybody. Nick Vegas. Awesome videos always, Tim. Do you have any updates on the release date for the Blue Leader X-Wing? Well, the Blue Leader X-Wing was actually revealed. The box art and the image of the card back was revealed yesterday, I believe, while I was away at Echo Base Live. And it looks awesome. But as far as I know, there isn't a release date. But I have heard that it possibly could be this month, August, September. It won't be a pre-order. I think it's just going to be it's up for order, and then a week later you get it. That's how soon I think it's going to be. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what I'm hearing, that's the way it's going to be done. So fingers crossed we get to see that pretty soon. But Nick, congratulations, my friend. You are the winner of the R2-D2. I hope you enjoy it, my friend, and thanks for supporting the channel. And thank you for everybody else for entering, and good luck on the next giveaway. I always do giveaways on this channel from time to time, and hopefully you'll be the lucky winner in the future. TV Baby 83 says, my question is, how old are you going to be? That's a closely guarded secret, but no, I'm going to be in my mid-40s. Let's say that. Next week I turn mid-40. There's your clue. David Holt said, when did you know you were going to be a collector instead of just a kid who plays with the toys and the action figures? I think I can pinpoint that, actually. I remember going to a comic shop when I was 18 years old, and they had some bagged up vintage Star Wars figures, and I remember buying the Scout, or the Biker Scout, or Scout Trooper, whatever you want to call him. And I think that was probably my first time of buying something that I had in my youth. So around 1994, 95, somewhere around then. Brandon Holbrook says, love your vids, keep up the great work. Question for next week, what direction do you want to see the vintage collection head towards? Is there something you think they should be prioritising? Yeah, this is an interesting question that, you know, we could have a massive discussion about this, but I guess in brief, I think they're doing a pretty good job. They're mixing it up a little bit. They're giving us a bit of everything. They're going to have to do the new shows next year and give us plenty from there, and I think they will. But I also think that they miss a trick sometimes, and, you know, a great example for me is the 332nd Ahsoka clone trooper from season 7 of the Clone Wars. For me, that's an easy figure for them to do. We've already got the 501st clone. You've just got to basically repaint the helmet, and Bob's your uncle. You've got that clone trooper pretty much. So I really don't understand why they didn't do that one. That would have sold, you know, so many. I would have bought so many of those. People would like to army build that one. So yeah, in short, I like where it's going. I think we're getting a good mix. We've got some decent Mandalorian figures and things like that, and they're going to need to give us the new media. But sometimes I just think they miss a trick on certain characters. But, you know, that's just my opinion. Somebody out there may not want a clone trooper, so it swings and roundabout. Brixton Moore says, hey boss, do you think we'll ever get a Thrawn in the vintage collection? Yes, we absolutely will, but I've got a feeling it will be when the Ahsoka series comes out, because he'll definitely be in that, and that's when you'll get that figure. Totally Addicted to Brick says, hi, your channel is a great source for up-to-date vintage collection news. Thank you. Thank you. Do you ever think we'll see another Sandcrawler majorly improved and in the vintage collection? I think if we ever get another Sandcrawler, it'll probably have to be a Haslab project, if I'm honest. David Bodenchat says, question for next week. Jumping off a question from this week, what is your favourite modern Darth Vader action figure? I'm disappointed by the lack of a really definitive one after all this time, so I'm curious which one you prefer the most. So this is my favourite Darth Vader. He is from the 3.75 inch Black Series. Originally in the orange line, but the head used to fall off, so they re-released him in the TIE Fighter packaging, fixed that problem, and yeah, he's my favourite Vader. My mate Mark, Shabby Geek, says, question for next week, would you like to see another Star Wars movies done in the retro collection style? I think some of the prequel characters would look awesome done in the retro collection look. Cheers, Tim. Yeah, that isn't actually something I've really thought about, to be honest, but now you've said that, I think that would be awesome. For example, Chirrut Imwe would look pretty cool, wouldn't he, from Rogue One in Retro Collection. And after seeing those ones from The Mandalorian, it's something that can definitely be done. I think they translated quite well. And to be honest, that's kind of how I would prefer the Retro Collection. I've said this before, I think the best Retro Collection figure they've done from the original Star Wars was the Tarkin figure. And that's kind of like how I think it should have been done. Things that we haven't had before, but in that retro style. Grogu says, do you know if the new Lego Republic gunship that released today will be available to fit the 3.75 inch Star Wars figures, since the gunship is bigger than the standard Lego version? Well, actually, I did see somebody's image. I can't remember where I saw it, but they had the Commander Bakara figure from the Legacy Collection standing inside the doorway of the gunship. So yes, they do fit, and it looked pretty cool, I've got to say. Alright then guys, thank you very much for watching. There were so many questions to choose from this week, so thank you so much. And if you do have a question for next week's episode, please leave it in the comment section below. Don't forget that I'm on Patreon, and you can now be a member of the channel. Thank you to all my existing Patreons for your support. I greatly appreciate it. And congratulations to the winner of the R2-D2. Thank you all for watching, and we shall see you on the next one.